All right, thanks, Scott. Andy, hello, everybody.
Hello, Steve. Hi, Scott. Hi, everyone.
All right, welcome to the Tuesday off week trade of the week. We're doing it every 2 weeks now, remember. So glad to be back. Seems like 2 weeks flies by, but let's get started as people file in. Reminder, Andy and myself trade our own accounts. We've been using Trade Ideas since 2003. We're now employed by Trade Ideas, and so we have some opinions, but those opinions that we give are our own opinion, and should not be construed as official financial advice. You got to seek out the right professionals and pay them a fee for that stuff. All right, hey, I updated today's slide here to remind people that we are very much available to you guys. Barry is in the moderated trading room all day long, pretty much for the most part. We give him a break at noon. And then around 12:30 Eastern, he's usually done. And Chris Varley steps in at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. So we now have 2 daily live support sessions, which is a YouTube live stream with a chat window. Oftentimes we will send people over there to get a visual answer to their question that is kind of hard to convey sometimes in chat. We don't use the phones for that type of stuff. So 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, we are available to you. Either one of us at the noon session or Chris at the 3:30 Eastern session. And like I mentioned, we send a lot of people over there to kind of just really shore up, visually what their questions are and how to get the most out of Trade Ideas. Because we understand it's a very complex, rich product. There's a lot of things you can do with it, no matter if you're a swing trader or a fundamental trader or a low float scalp short float trader. You can custom tailor the platform to do what you want it to do. And it's not learned overnight. So we highly recommend you joining either a live trading room or one of these 2 sessions a day. Even if you don't ask a question, you can always learn something that you might not have already known with somebody else's question. So lots of availability to try and help everybody with the learning curve of this great product. There is the tradeideas.com/live. That's the actual URL to get to the support sessions I was just talking about that will redirect you into the YouTube live feed. All right, so here we are again. Never going to change this theme. No human is better than a machine, and no machine is better than a human with a machine. Individually, we're not as good, but together, it's a good symbiotic relationship, especially when we talk about the AI. Sometimes new traders don't know where to focus their attention, but the AI can help them identify opportunities in real time for an entry. But it kind of stops there. The AI is not that great at managing the trades, so people who run in moderate mode and manage their own trades do seem to do a little bit better. And that's just a classic example of man and machine combined, stronger than the individual. All right, hello everybody, hello Dave. All right. Today's agenda, last day of the month, tomorrow's December. Market recap, I got a few things to say. AI recap was kind of interesting today. Trade of the week, crazy. BLNK did not trigger, but we will go over both of these trades. My favorite moving average correlations. I just popped that in there because I wanted to show you a couple of things that I use, and it doesn't mean they're the right and only way to use, but it works for me, and I see tremendous correlation. So I'm going to just show you a couple quick examples. Matter of fact, I might even just incorporate this into the market recap because it probably makes sense to do that. I've got some more stuff to show you on the forthcoming new feature called stock race cars and how they can be used really effectively, I think. Starting to warm up to them a lot. And today we'll finish off with chart requests. It's been a while since we've done that, but let's get right into it. There might be a lot of broken charts out there because what we've got going the last few days here have been pretty gnarly. Okay, this candle right off the bat caught my attention. It's doing like what a lot of stocks have been doing lately. They threaten to break out and then they just drop. And likewise, I think I even pointed out earlier on this chart, same chart, divergence, bearish divergence. Okay, there's the, let me erase that. We had kind of an uptick into that one candle I talked about, slight up, new high, whatever, but higher high nonetheless. But in the same time, the RSI was giving us an early warning sign that something's just not right up here, The closing candles in these days up here just weren't really reflecting well in the RSI. And then, of course, we got that giant drop, which was pretty much all related to the Omicron variant. The people were starting to get worried about, and then a bounce back yesterday as there wasn't as much concern as originally thought. So we had that kind of an early warning going on over in the S&P. And then today, all things were doing really, really well until, Jerome Powell found the microphone and had to admit that he has been wrong. They have been wrong. Inflation is not transitory. Inflation is here to stay. And that scared the hell out of the market, as you can see. But just this action up here, we'll look at some individual stocks, especially the last week's trade of the week. They just pretend to break out and then they go nowhere. And I was telling Andy, it just reminds me we're up here in thin air again. It's like a helicopter up in the Alps, at 15, 18,000 feet, trying to take off, and the air is very thin. There's not much that the blades can get a meat on the air because the air is not dense. The air is very thin up here. Nobody really seems to want to make leadership for very long. And it's something we've talked a lot about the last few weeks, that this market is in a full rotational mode. Matter of fact, normal rotation would last a few days. We're in hyper rotation mode right now, where we're lucky if it even lasts a full day before the sectors just start to get crazy again. There's very little to really grip our teeth into and try and hold on to as a swing trader. Now, as a day trader, this might be pretty good market for you, but that's not what Andy and I do. And I'm just going to talk about what I do know. So very, very damaging candle today. I mean, I think we all would agree it's a foregone conclusion. We are going to test the 50-day moving average. I would expect at least some sort of buyers to show up there. So that will be the real test tomorrow, to see how the price action acts if it does get down to that 50-day moving average. Because I like to look at the 50-day moving average as kind of a general sign of health. We had a scare back here, but the market, Jay Powell's market, just seems to find a way to get people excited again about stocks. So, will that happen again? I don't know, but we've got to have some testing to do down here at the 50-day moving average, I think. Let's just look at the Qs real quick. And a bit more of a jumbled mess over there, but still the same thing. Big reversal candle this day. If we look at the RSI, getting bearish divergence there as well. We saw the bearish divergence all the way up to that new high. So from there to there, the price went up, but it did it with much less oomph and strength. And this can be a great indicator sometimes if you want to be an early, you don't want to wait for confirmation, but you see something like this, maybe prove your thesis. Maybe you're not bullish on the market. You can lean on things like this, RSI divergences. So same thing happening over there in the Nasdaq. Nasdaq gave away its 20-day moving average just today after recapturing it yesterday, and literally it was in clean air yesterday, above all averages. But again, I think what this is showing us is this distance between the 50-day moving average with the Q and the SPY is that this rally has been really held up by technology. I will quickly bring up a chart some of you might recognize. You just can't kill Apple. And I might add, the moving averages I'm going to talk about in a minute here, the 10-day moving average really is, this is old school. This is the kind of stuff that was working last year or last fourth quarter. You could lean on these moving averages and anticipate buyers coming in and pushing it back and closing on highs. What was that all about? Haven't seen much closing on highs lately when they break out. But Apple pretty much is, I would say, single-handedly helping to hold up the Qs, and the Nasdaq itself and the tech sector is really holding up the rest of the market because there's not much else that's really working. IWM Russell 2000, I had mentioned a few weeks ago that it was starting to look interesting, right? Here we were leaning on that moving average, but like everything else is done, they roll over and they fail. So whatever I said about the small caps 3 weeks ago, they're just broken again. They've literally just broken right back down into their range after a nice fake breakout of this 9 or 10 month range. Didn't last long. Very humbling market right now. It's very difficult to trade if you're a swing trader and you're trying to get things to move in your direction. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you real quick, and I'll be happy to share my 15-minute chart with anybody that wants it. I can share the cloud link, but I just want to show you a couple of observations and how I use my 15-minute chart. Those of you that know me know that I only use 2 interesting moving averages. That it would be the 10-period 15-minute chart. Okay, I call that the momentum line. And then this 5-day chart. Let me bring up SPY because it's been very interesting the last few days looking at these correlations. So last week you could see we butted up against the 5-day moving average and closed above, and then that overnight scare came out about the new variant virus. Market didn't ask questions. It tells me the market's trigger happy right now. They're not sticking around for explanations. Everybody's got one finger on the sell button. But then we gapped up, and then look how the 10 SMA came right into play. I always say, don't chase the gap, wait for something like this, or more importantly, right there where it actually touched the 10 SMA and moved up. But boy, do I find this interesting. I mean, I almost jumped in some XPXSs yesterday to short the market, but that hasn't worked for longer than a day lately. And so I just said, you know what, just let the market do its thing, Steve. Don't try and get ahead of yourself. But that would have been an interesting level to come in and observe that, wow, I mean, you talk about an area of interest, and that's all these moving averages are, a level of interest, an area of interest. And when we look at that level of interest yesterday for half the day, there was a solid wall of selling. So, I mean, you guys don't have to use this, but I use this a lot to determine what's the general health of what's going on out there. And then today, we just kind of gapped down, the exact opposite of a gap up. Don't chase a gap down, but if you wanted to get short, right when it came up here and tagged that 10 SMA, that was the ticket. It told us that the momentum to the downside was going to start. And then second test right here, second test almost went back to lows. Then we broke back through it. So what does that mean? It means if I'm short something or long something, I'm going to stay in that trade as long as this guiding hand of momentum stays intact. But once it breaks that line, which it does all the time, it just tells me that, okay, momentum's probably broken here. We're not going to go crashing to lows today. But we did get back down underneath it for the most part. But after hours, we're right back above it again. So I just want to highlight how much I rely on this 15-minute chart to gauge market decisions. I'm just using it to help add to the incoming data to manage whatever I might be in, or to decide if I want to trade or participate or not. Yeah, I've got regrets. I didn't, short the market yesterday or buy SPXS because I just felt it, but I don't trust it. The Fed just seems to find ways to let it happen for a day or two, and then boop, somebody finds a microphone and we're right back in business again. So that's the market we have. That's the market we have to trade. And I will show you coming up a little later using the race cars how you might be able to get an early handle on the day of what type of sector rotation we're actually looking at for the new day. And with that tease, I'll hand it over to Andy, unless you got something to add here. I think you might.
No, I think you always have to be cautious anytime you have a day like today. A lot of people I'm sure are thinking I will have a Santa Claus rally just like we always do, but you know what, we've had a decent move up this year, and a lot of I'm sure a lot of your funds, hedge funds and things like that, may be content with the and it could just be some slop, or it could be some selling coming in, but who knows. It's really tough to short the market, I know that, but boy, you can't help but want to try it every now and then when it gets up to these levels.
We'll see what happens when we get to the 50 moving average tomorrow. I think we're going to see it. Maybe not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there you go. All righty, you got my screen?
Yep.
Not a bad, actually not a bad day for the AI considering the market. We had let's see, what is this? 7 trades, 5 of which were short. So Holly definitely had the direction right in the market today. And of course, the couple of big decent winners were on the short side. And actually, boy, this one was early, but if you had the patience in this was actually, and she ended up getting stopped out on the very first candle. But boy, if you could have seen that and been patient and maybe held on for a second time through, this would have been a nice little short, all the way from around $11 down close to 8. So, but she was a little early and barely got penny whipped, I like to call it, on the stop out there. But I don't think it's fair, because this is where we say man and machine. If you were in this, maybe you would just be a little more patient and wait for the downward momentum versus trying to fade that first candle. Another good short, really good short here was ASO. Now, there wasn't anything strong about this opening. It gapped down a little bit.
Former trade of the week.
Former trade of the week. That's, you know what? I was in that. Luckily, I scalped it. That's what I do when stocks get at all-time highs. I take my profits because they seem like in most cases they're followed by a downward move. Maybe that resets in the future and offers another opportunity. But nonetheless, in conservative mode, just a very nice profit there in ASO. Got out around exit price was 444, so basically a little over $1 in that one on the downside. Another really good one was this Stro downward dog. Okay, tried to gap up on a very weak chart, ran right through its fast line, its 10-period moving average, came back down, and that's when Holly punched it there. And boy, nice little move there, almost a $2 move from 16.86 almost all down to 15. So, and that's given the profit on this exit right here. So there was a lot more meat on that bone had you been, ran it tighter and just got out after a bar reversal or something down here. But great trade there. So really, I mean, it's a good day. I mean, anytime with my risk parameters, conservative profit was 305. So not a bad day considering the action that we had. And this is when Holly can, I think, be most advantageous to you is, boy, if you're looking around and looking for longs and you see Holly firing off a lot of shorts, even though probably there was a lot of short strategies making the cut today versus the long. So interesting.
That data's finding its way through the system.
It is. And so yeah, keep an eye on that. Even if you don't like trading the AI, a lot of times it can kind of give you a heads up of where the action may be headed. But that's about it, Steve. Not a whole lot to talk about. A couple of these were pretty much scratches, and this one was just a bad trade. I would have never taken this long. Looking at this chart right here, below all its moving averages, doesn't mean that it can't work. But it's just not my kind of chart. But anyway.
Well, the directional bias was clear today. The AI was saying, "Be careful long," with what it was demonstrating there.
Exactly. True. Good point. All right, I'll shoot it back to you.
All right, where are we going next? Okay, so we will go to, whoops, let me make sure I'm doing it right. There we go. Okay. Let's go to last week. Okay, last week, PUBM still on the A table, still holding up, but my God, you guys, look at this action. I mean, unless you're smart, like Dave in the webinar audience there, who told me a couple days ago, he just bought options on this thing. That's probably the way to play some of these things, is to just draw your line in the sand and let these ridiculous moves. Look at all these wicks. Good news is they're wicks to the downside. I'll be honest with you guys, I got out of this one right here. Got out. And this is how difficult it's been. I mean, just to watch this thing just rocket on the open and then get caught in today's reversal. This is not textbook trading. This is very difficult market action. Maybe one of the reasons it did that was because the float is only 17 million and the short is supposedly pretty high, but I don't like that. I like to see things that follow through and don't make sharp pointed candles when they fake out and break out. So yeah, congratulations, Dave. I think you're the one who hit that one correctly. Just look at your strike, know your time frame, know what your downside is, and let it just make a mess. But nonetheless, that's what's going on over there in PUBM. Likewise, Blink is showing up on the A table again. Oh, look at that. It had a pretty nice close, but you know what? There's a little space right there between 39.43 and the actual trigger at 47. Whew. So glad this thing didn't trigger and then reverse like some of these things have been doing lately. But just a little bit of background on this one. Wow, look at that. That's just incredible. Basically, a really nice sector has been the EVs. They've cooled off a little bit lately, but rather than trying to find something that's ready to consolidate and push higher like PUBM last week, we looked for something that was really pulling back and showing steady support, there we go, on the 20. And so technically, the last 2 days, it's just kind of building a support base here above the 20-day moving average. This thing could trigger tomorrow and go. Again, high short float, relatively low float, EV stock. This thing's still intact, but I am breathing a sigh of relief that it didn't go up and trigger our trigger price and then reverse like it's done a few times the last couple of months in this difficult environment.
Look at that intraday wishbone pattern. That's like a wishbone.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Brutal.
Crazy. It's brutal. That's the right word. Okay, so not too much really to talk about on the last two trades of the week. Again, don't. Oh, he sold the options for a second time this morning, trying to find a good reentry. Well, still a good plan, Dave, because I think this is a good environment if you're a swing trader and you're not getting the good price action you want in the common. If you've got time and a little bit of money in the account and the risk parameters, you can just set yourself up using options to wait for these things to have their day again. Because as we're going to talk about in a little bit, this sector rotation is crazy. It doesn't last for longer than a day. Today, it didn't even last for half a day. And that's a good segue to bring up of what I want to show you guys. So I've got my sector ETF, which I've talked a lot about. And there's about, I don't know, there's a lot of names in there, but I whittled it down to 20. And I did that for a reason. I wanted to find my favorite top 20 ETFs because, I can quickly show you, right click in any top list window, we have the real-time stock race. Now I'm going to bring up a screenshot from this morning, but I did not know until around 3 hours ago that the developers have expanded the race up to 20 cars now. So that would have made what I did this morning a lot easier. But what I did this morning was I essentially sorted change from the close and I grabbed 10 because I thought that was the limit. So I popped 10 in there and I sorted by, or the race was based on change from the close, which by the way, it appears we can run these after market because what we're sorting on is a filter that works in aftermarket. If I was trying to sort on relative volume, this wouldn't work aftermarket. So anyway, this morning, where is it? Let me find it here. There it is. So what I did was I kind of worked backwards a little bit, not realizing that we can go to a maximum of 20 cars. I sorted the top 10, ran a race, and then I inverted it by double clicking. And then I had the other top 10 on the top and I ran a race with those. And it was to run for about an hour. I ran it 10, 15 minutes before the market. And then when the bell rang, they started really taking off. Well, this morning, gold, silver, gold miners, silver, energy, and some China stocks were doing really well. And they were setting up nicely for the day. And I was kind of hoping that we wouldn't have had that big reversal. We could have checked in at the end of the day and see how gold and silver managed to hold up. But all bets were off when Jerome Powell started speaking about inflation, mea culpa, et cetera. But the concept here is pretty cool. I mean, if we're talking about constant hyper rotation from sector to sector, this new way of visualizing data makes a lot of sense to me, to just let it run in the background, pull it up and look and see. Oh, I saw early on that energy and gold miners and silver were hot. So that helps you zero in on where your focus should be if you're a long side trader. Likewise, you could do that to the short side as well, but it's kind of built for the long side here visually. So this thing looked great. I took a screenshot of it, then it expired, and then the market fell out of bed and everything changed. So the point is this is still a development version, and in the next public beta release, we will in fact have the race car available, feature available. So this is one way I think you could get some value out of the constant rotation of sectors to see which ones are jumping out right on the open and use that first half an hour data to your advantage. Similarly, we could do the same thing with, I did not mean to do that. My liked, where's my liked? There we are. Okay, let's try this again. All right, so this is my wheelhouse of stocks. They come and go. And as you guys know, the my liked symbol is turned on and off by the heart symbol in the chart. Blink should be in here because the heart symbol is turned on. So every day I'm going through these and watching these, but what we're not seeing is something that might have started low on the totem pole and starts moving quickly up. We just can't see that visually with this type of data set. But with the race cars, we sure could. So we could go into, anybody could do this when the feature becomes available, of course, go in, real-time stock race, up to 20 cars, and change from close. You could run it for 30 minutes or even 60 minutes, it doesn't matter.
Hey, Steve.
Yep.
We don't
Oh,
have
we don't
the
have
20
20 yet.
version yet. Our max is
Yeah,
10 right now. Yeah, we'll be getting
yeah,
that hopefully in the next couple of days. Yeah.
yeah. Here's
Okay.
what happened. We all got a demonstration today of the developer's layout desktop, and that will be there when the development version, when the beta version does come out. The 20 cars will be available to you. But yeah, thank you, Andy. I'm just not quite there yet on my versions. So the My Liked symbol could be another great application for this stock race. And then lastly, of course, well, two things. Brokerage plus positions. We'll be able to do a stock race on brokerage plus positions, either your sim trade or your live trade, doesn't matter. And then of course, for maybe somebody who doesn't auto trade, Holly, or just kind of uses their own discernment when they pull these things up, it's going to be yet another tool to be able to, at some point, run a stock race on the AI positions. So position windows, My Liked windows, sector windows, these are all things that I think will definitely have some value in the near future when that feature becomes available. They're still adding things left and right to it, things I didn't even think of, but when it's ready, it'll be out. All right. Let's see. Where were we going to go from there? Yeah, geez, we're moving right through here pretty quickly. Let's see if there's any questions I need to answer. For aftermarket time, should we start looking at the charts? What time should we start looking at the charts? Okay, so it's visually easy to come into properties and go into post-market, and you'll see it'll be right at the close. And the post-market portion of the chart, when you enable, like I just did there, the post-market part of the chart will be in this color here. Same with pre-market. Okay, you'll have two different colors you can work with. Whatever time you want to start
And we
monitoring, yeah,
also, if
it's
you're
up to
looking
you.
for price action, we do have a post-market channel that you can go to. Steve will point it out to you.
Pre-market
So,
channel.
mhm.
I always scroll past the post-market channel. I don't know why.
Yeah, look for the clocks.
Clocks. Okay. Yeah. See,
Oh, they
scroll right
changed
by
it.
it.
No, they changed it to the skyline. Okay.
After hours. Okay. After hours. Let's just see what it is. So you'll notice in the after hours alerts multi-strategy window, that's an alert considered. We're going to have to use, and this is the big one here, we're going to have to use post-market low. You see that? The regular new low, new high won't work in post-market, so they have to be coded with the post-market. So you could come here, whoever asked that question, and if there's anything you liked in here, you can just right-click, save it to your cloud, and then you can bring it back in. I'll just demonstrate that quickly. Save to cloud. I'll bring up my layout. And guys, I'm going to start asking for chart requests here in a couple of minutes. So if anybody wants me or Andy to look at some charts, go ahead and start pumping them in now, and we'll take a look. So back to my regular layout, after stealing something individually scan-wise from the post-market, we can just come in here and go File, Load from Cloud, and it's going to be that last one right there. Just load that. And there you go, post-market movers. That's how easy it is to go shopping on the channel bar here. Start with the theme that you like, and then grab an individual scan that you like, and you can make it your own. All right, here comes some stock charts. All right, for newbies.
Okay, well, you also
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. You have a question. Sunil would like to see you explain the A table, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure, and then I'll answer Tony's question, then we'll get to the
Okay.
So the A table is basically very simple. And if you're not familiar with what the score filter is, stock composite rating, we combine 10 technical points, 4 or 5 fundamental points, and we give the stock a rating like Investors Business Daily did. But ours updates in real time. And so I've got it set to 70 because normally I had it set at 80, which would be like a college curve, B students and above, but I've set it down to 70. Give me the C students and above because there might be some gems in there in the short float category. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, what's happening? These are good charts, 70 and above. Some of these score ratings are even higher. Score 82, 82, 70, 70, 85, 83. So I'm bringing in more candidates by lowering my score filter to 70, but these are still relatively decent charts. So I sort it by the short float percentage. So this basically, the concept behind this A table is, what are people missing here? Why are some of these good charts that have a decent score so highly shorted? This could be a recipe for a short squeeze, kind of like we thought we were going to see in PUBM on the open, but it got reversed. But when these short squeezes do catch, I know you guys have heard that term, short squeeze. When they do go, they go. So the A table is designed to try and help me find good charts that have high short float, and from there it's all discretionary, just using my own eyes. There's nothing to alert me to do anything. But of course I will always be using my 15-minute chart and my daily chart to find out levels of interest. Tony, for newbies to TI, is there a sequence series of pre-recorded webinars I can watch at a UK friendly time to get up to speed? Yes, maybe Andy will drop in our YouTube channel for you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Tony,
also,
if you go above, I just dropped it in. I dropped it in for somebody above. Just scroll up. You should have access to it. And there's a getting started video. And of course, that's going to lead you to our YouTube page where you're going to find just countless number of videos. We got short videos in there. Basically, you can learn anything you want from that YouTube page.
and I know you're on a unique time zone, but if you're able to, attend the live sessions, especially like at noon Eastern, Andy does them on Friday. I do them on tomorrow, Wednesdays. You can come and just get more information, and we can do give and take. All right, great. Okay, so we've got some stocks. We want to use stocks. Okay, Costco. Would you ever consider starting pre-market? Yes, Mitchell.
Working on it.
I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but the geniuses behind our architecture have found a way to shorten our overnight processing time, which is usually the overnight period where everything resets and the AI does its back testing. We soon to hope to have an announcement that will be able to do that, because we recognize it's important, and we recognize a lot of people do want it. So I can't give a time frame, but I can just tell you that I heard through the grapevine that the genius developers have found a way to do it. Now they've just got to build it. Where can we get the meeting invites? Rama, just go, I'll show you. There's no invite to the YouTube, but if you go to this URL right here, okay, tradeIdeas.com/live, it'll redirect you to the YouTube channel. And once you've watched one or maybe even just two of our noon Eastern live sessions, YouTube knows that you like it. And so every time you just go back at noon Eastern, you'll see suggested for you live Trade Ideas support. So there's no invitation link, just for these go-to webinars are the invitation links. Okay, let's start with some charts, and we'll start with Costco, one of my favorite stores. Costco had a rough close. Interesting. You know what? Some of this stuff could be end of month, because today is the end of the month. But let's shift over. Let's shift over and say, okay, well, it closed right at the 10-day moving average, the same moving average that held back here, here. Hopefully this holds here. But you got to watch the general market tomorrow. If the general market wants to head down to that 50-day moving average, Costco could see a drop to the 20. Maybe not, but it's setting up to where it could want to do it, but one day generally isn't really enough in my book for a correction or consolidation. We'll see. But strong trend. It's resting right on the 10-day moving average. If it closes below this tomorrow, then the 20 is definitely in play. PayPal. Definitely in a downtrend. Notice how the 10-day moving average kept the price in check there and also there. So the momentum is still intact to the downside. I wouldn't be interested in PayPal until it starts to climb back through those moving averages and show us. And this is really fanned out. This is a very big move from 297 down to 185. I'm just going to look backwards in time a little bit. Okay, this 172 level could come into play. Oops. Because I'm looking back at prior support down here, maybe eyeball it, something like that. 174 could be in the cards for that one, but it's not a good trend. A completely different stock than it was a year ago. Yep, it's making new highs a year ago. All right, what else should we look at? Groupon, haven't seen that one in a while. Another example, guys, of moving higher, consolidating right above the 10-day, and then fail, fail, fail. Let's look back and see if there's any sort of support. Now, one thing I can tell you, and it's a lot of the positions that I've been in lately, they will go down and attack those prior lows, and they'll try and shake out the trees and see if there's any low-hanging fruit. And sometimes you just have to sit through and see what is the price going to do when it comes down here and challenges these prior lows. We'll look backwards on Groupon a little bit. This is a very solid level. Look at how that one came into view perfectly right before I even drew it. So this 21 level should be defended. Let's see what happens tomorrow. But you got the right idea. Not buying the breakout, but buying the support. Not a bad one. V, just cleaning up over there. Visa. But the chart has a different story. So this one's under pressure as well. What have XLF's been doing lately? Have they been under pressure? Yeah, they haven't been having a good time. But technically speaking, Visa is below all of its moving averages. It's being guided lower by the 10 SMA as usual, as what momentum does. If we want to look back in time, ideally we should see some support right here at 192. So if it can't hold 192, then 179 might be in play. And again, I'm just looking backwards in time of prior support levels because we've taken out all these other ones. What left? OCGN, popular name a month ago. And look at how these stocks just have a ball and then they go to the other side of the mountain to die, a quiet death. I think ideally people playing OCGN would have liked to seen a second attempt to bounce off there, but this candle was just unbelievably bearish, a giant bearish candle. 5 days up, gap up on the 6th day, and then just sell off, and it hasn't looked back since. The story might be there. I know it's an appealing story to some, but right now the chart is not confirming that story. Also under pressure. I have a feeling we're going to have a hard time finding some solid charts today unless they're sitting on good support. TJ Maxx, my wife's favorite store to go kill time in. Andy brought up a good point. Retail was really strong a few weeks ago, and then it just died. A week ago, and then it just died.
Just fell out of bed.
TJX just kind of gave it up along with the sector. But technically, let's see. TJX. Why is that not coming up? There we go. Okay, the 200-day moving average, it kind of dipped its toe down there and tried to touch it and bounce back up like a lot of things today. I would use this 200-day moving average as really your line in the sand, I think. If it breaks that, it's going to come down to the 50, and if it breaks that, it's below all moving averages. So it really needs to dig in. You could even use today's lows if you wanted, but you're pretty close to the 200-day moving average there. All right. We got that one knocked out. Yeah, Jim, you're right. It's also the time of year when tax loss selling occurs. People clean up their portfolio, try and offset some winners with some losers for taxes. All sorts of games being played this time of year, or at the end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the year, I should say. Any crystal ball vision on Box? Oh, this is the one. This is one of those ones that just keeps faking everybody out, trying to go, and then all these. Look at all these times back here, and this was a trade of the week that was kind of started the whole, theme of these things can't be trusted very long. The air is thin up here. They break out and they fail. That's what it did. What could it do from here? Well, it got close to its declining 10-day moving average, and it gave away the 200-day. Remember, it held here, and there. It held 3 test days of the 200 moving average, which it just gave away today. We could go back here and look at that low. It's kind of where it was the low today. I would use today's low as something to lean on, and if it breaks today's low, it's not looking good. Again, it's hard to find some good ones right now. LCID, I've seen that name a lot. Okay, well, this is kind of out of the ordinary. Here's an old school chart that's shaping up. Why do I say old school? Because it's doing what things were doing well last fourth quarter. Nice test, nice test, nice test, nice test. It just keeps holding the momentum line. What do we got? 91 composite, so it's a strong chart. Oh my God, is that right? Is the float really? Oh, I'm sorry, 510 million, right? Not 1,000. So it's got a decent float. There's no real short float to consider. This thing is just doing what it does on its own merits. However, nice looking chart for last year's fourth quarter, but for 2021 here, fourth quarter, there's not much I trust right now, especially when you see these little wicks, these attempts to go and then pull back, kind of like it did again today. Today it looked like it was off to the races, like PUBM, got suckered back. For the most part, it kind of found support at that 5-day moving average that I mentioned earlier. There we go, like there, a little sloppy there, but on the close here. So keep an eye on that one too.
That is a good sector. I'm in
It's,
the one I'm in is holding up well. It's a Chinese one, but XPEV, XPEV. Check that one out, Steve. It's
that was actually on the also watch this week, which I didn't
oh
even really
yeah,
go
yeah,
over.
yeah. So
I
that
could
one's
I could show that
very well.
right there. Blink, GoEv, EVgo, and CWH.
Okay, so you had
Oh, I didn't have
EVGO,
XPEV.
right?
I didn't have
Did
XPEV.
you?
I had the other one, I
Oh,
guess.
okay,
Yeah, I didn't have those. Was it
okay.
last week, the week before that? Nope,
May have
didn't get.
been.
No,
Hmm.
it wasn't. Anyway, strong chart on that last request. I just don't know what I trust right now. LCID, yeah, that was the one. Okay, we did PayPal earlier, but it doesn't look good, I think was the synopsis. Yeah, it's in a horrible downtrend still. Tesla, Big Daddy EV. Even with Elon Musk selling 10% of his stake, apparently, it's still holding up.
Mm-hmm.
What I see is a very definely drawn wedge there. So, but you'll notice the last two spikes coming out of that wedge were negated that day and today, kind of negated. So, your guess is as good as mine. This is the big daddy of them all, but it's holding up. It's above all its moving averages. Not a bad looking chart. I would say maybe put a price alert above today's high. You could put a price alert in there and watch it for tomorrow. All right, couple more, then we'll bring in Scott. It's up big after, oh, something's up big after hours. I missed that one, David. Will we get a copy of this, Sam? Yes, it'll be on our YouTube channel. Probably tomorrow it'll be uploaded. Oh, so box is up big after hours, or was it the other one?
I'm trying to figure that out. What's
Oh,
stock,
box is up.
David?
Okay,
Oh
there we
yeah,
go.
okay.
There we go, right there.
Yep.
Earnings today after the close, and tomorrow it's going to have a little E on the daily chart to show that it had earnings. That's a new feature as well. All right. For any stock, how much percent short flow indicates it could go? I've got my A table, which I think you asked about earlier. I've got it set for a minimum of 15%. I think anything above 15% has the possibility for a short squeeze. And of course, the lower the actual trading float of the stock in circulation also helps as well. I saw a report that Tesla insiders are also selling, not just Elon. Well, somebody's holding it up. Probably the retailers. They're always the bag holders, the retailers. Okay, let's do one more. We'll do two more, MOLN and then MOLN, and then we'll
Salesforce.
do Salesforce for Rama. MOLN, you must have just been typing something. I don't know what this is, Molecular Partners. This has got gaps written all over it, and it's a pharmaceutical. Not my cup of
That's a
tea, and the
tough one.
volume
Yeah.
is horrible. Maybe you just had a typo there, David. Oh, gotcha. Okay, those are two different Daves. Box MOLN. Gotcha. All right, one more, then we'll bring in Scott for announcements. Salesforce, that one is CRM, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible reversal candle today. Market, and we're down after market with post earnings today, post market. So a lot of people got scared out today, didn't want to take it into earnings, and earnings took it even lower. So those people that got out today were probably smart. Big gap to fill down here, but that's way down there. I would say watch this level right here of interest to see if it can hold up from, prior highs and prior lows, kind of a pivot level. Call that 279-ish. All right, well, that's all I got for you guys today. Wish we had more to talk about on the trade of the week, but it's a little nasty out there. So, be very discernive and selective on what you want to trade if you're a swing trader. If you're a day trader, you've got some action, but it's just not what I do. All right, guys, thank you so much. I will bring in Scott and we'll let him walk us out.
Yeah, thanks. Just a couple items on the way out. Make sure you've got the new ebook from Dave Mabe. It's at trade-ideas.com
Where are we here?
slash.
Hold on a second.
Oh, we can talk about interactive brokerage.
These are out of order a little bit. I don't see Dave's on there anymore. Oh, there it is, free ebook. All right.
Yeah,
They
grab
bounce around.
the earning ebook. Actually, that's an old one that should be replaced with the new one. But anyways, it's still a good ebook. Just grab it. Trade-ideas.com/earnings, written by Dave Mabe, the guy that brought us Holly, the AIs, odds maker, all that kind of good stuff. Moving on, what slides you actually have visible. Use the code HollyRocks to save 15% off your first month or year of Trade Ideas. And if you have any questions, email us at info@-tradeIdeas.com. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/tradeIdeas, and Steve has a Twitter channel at TISteveG. We also have at Trade Ideas. All kinds of good stuff. The recording of this will be up later on tonight or tomorrow, and get an email reminder tomorrow with a link about how to find it. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
Thanks, everybody. I'll see you on Thursday.